welcome to Monday Mug Mentions, week number 21. So good to see you all this week. I am sorry for the delay. It has been an insane weekend. I've just come back from Kineticon. It is a million degrees. I know from a Texan this sounds ridiculous, but it is like 95 degrees and really hot here. Even with the ACs, you'll probably see me glowing a little bit this week. So nice to see you all starting to pop in this morning. If you notice a slight difference in the light, it's because I may or may not have donated my tripod to the Kineticon Convention Center this weekend. After my panel, I left it in a convention room, and it's not a super expensive tripod. I hope they can use it. I will order another one by next week, and we'll have that sorted out. But I think you can probably see my light in my glasses here, and we'll get that fixed again by next week. I hope you're all doing well this week. Hello, Eric, Joseph, John, Courtney, Brad. Courtney, my lovely wife, good to see you. Hello. Clinton, thank you all for joining. So good to see you. We'll have some new faces this week. I was on a panel at Kineticon this weekend, and I think a few people will probably be joining us from there, it appears. So nice to see you all. Thank you for joining today. So let's get right into it. I am drinking a cup today of Coffee Connections House Blend. This is a local shop. Hopefully everyone can hear me okay. I've changed the audio settings just a little bit this week, and I've also got an air conditioner blowing essentially right in my face. It is brutally hot today. So Tim, so nice to see you. It's really, really, really good to see so many folks here this afternoon. The Coffee Connection House Blend is okay. I'm glad I only got a half pound of it. I don't know if that speaks to how I like it or not. It just seems kind of like run-of-the-mill. It doesn't have like a ton of different flavors that I can pick out or anything like that. So glad to hear that you can all hear me well. Joseph, John, yeah, we met and talked about quite a few things this week. So it was this weekend. It was really, really nice talking with you. I love meeting new creators and folks that are working on games or have game designs in the process. It's and trying to help you avoid my many, many mistakes getting to this point. So, Daniel Zayas, so nice to see you. We're going to go over and do some fun stuff in Daniel Zayas' campaign in just a moment here. So everyone stick around and check that out. Eric, so good to see you again. Tim, I got to see your face, your smiling face, and take a picture of your smiling face in front of our nice little bush motif this weekend, and it was so good to see you. I wish I had gotten a chance to play Ice Fortress. I, just under the gun, finished essentially getting – I got to play or at least do turns of every single game in the Connecticut Festival of Indie Games, and it was amazing. There was some everything was really awesome. There was a really, really amazing group of games there. I was blown away. Brad said he really enjoyed that panel, by the way. Well, thank you. I'm glad to hear that. So real quick, we've been missing something the past few weeks, and it's been like the Mail Monday. It's because we've been so busy, right? We're busy this week, but let's get into it real quick, right? So the Coffee Connection House Blend, not my favorite, to be honest. I know that it's actually made by Richard Allen Specialty Coffees, which is in my neighborhood to a certain extent. Like they're in the same area that we are, but I don't love it. So it's we'll take another shot on something. I think we're going to try going to New Harvest, or I think there's a place called the Coffee Exchange in Providence, and we're going to try to find like a really weird coffee or something out there from them, and we'll ask them some questions and maybe get some tips on how to do this a little better in terms of picking fun coffees. So I am wearing my Eat, Sleep, Playtest, Repeat shirt from Board Game Design Lab. So always supporting Gabe Barrett, my man at Board Game Design Lab. He is probably getting ready to announce the winners in that competition, which I helped judge as well. So that was a blast, and some really incredible entries came through there as well. So good to see you. Gerald, Dwayne, I'm glad you've already downed your coffee. That doesn't mean you can't have another one. New mug this week. I will show you all this one. Here, let me turn it around real quick. It is a Guardians of the Galaxy 2 mug that was given to me by Yanaguana Games, actually. The company scooped this up for me, Andrew. And it's got, Star-Lord and Gamora and Rocket there on the front. And I love Guardians of the Galaxy, so thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yes, Chris, very good times this weekend. And yes, poor Tim, our very handsome waiter. We had a very handsome waiter named Tim. Good evening. Is it George? If I pronounced that incorrectly, you are more than welcome to fix my pronunciation. So one of the things I just got in the mail recently was from Button Shy, and it's called Stew. It's a game about cooking, and as you all know, I love games about cooking. Stir Fry 18, our most popular game, has really been like something I anytime I hear about a cooking game, people are like, "Ooh, did you see this one? Did you see this one?" They tend to point them out to me. So this was one that was pointed out to me, and I really, really, really think it's a cute and clever way to do things. I love Button Shy's amazing packaging. It's a wallet here. You'll see it says Jason Glover's Stew. Looks like I got some promos and stuff in here. So there looks like I have a promo pack of Stew. Or this is the expansion. This is the expansion, Fungus Among Us. So this is pretty cool. Clinton says, could always start mixing soda in your coffee. I quit drinking soda a few years ago. I will admit, I had my first soda in a few years this weekend at Kineticon because we went to a place called Bears that had a locally made soda on all their taps. And they had a cream soda, and I had one, and it was delicious, and I actually had a second one, and I paid for that. My belly is not used to having that much carbonation in a short amount of time. So, but it was really, really good. I would definitely suggest that if you're in Hartford. I also got a Button Shy sticker. This goes in our sticker box. We have a big project for all of our stickers. I don't know if you've ever seen me get a sticker, but Zach's Death Wish sticker from the coffee went in that same box. The Button Shy will go in that. One day you'll see how this project shapes out. Let's see here, and then that's I like this. Is a little raccoon, like just a card, just something fun, from the game. Maybe it's part of the game. I don't know. I'll have to read the rules. And then we have Stew and a potato, and I'll get into the game and read it. I haven't learned it yet, but I remember it being really compelling on the Kickstarter. And Tagmeyer's an awesome dude. I think I just did my design diary just aired with him. And it was a really fun talk about shenanigans. You should go look him up on Twitter or Board Game Geek and make sure that you check that out. It was a really fun, just off-the-cuff chat we had about pulling shenanigans in design or shenanigans in games, things like that. So next thing that came in the mail, and then we'll move on to all the other stuff. Let's get this coffee out of the way. It's not good enough to be up there that whole time. Is Bridges to Nowhere. This is a really pretty-looking game that I haven't had a chance to open up yet. I mean, almost all my stuff's sealed back there. You guys see it all the time. So Bridges to Nowhere is like a draft build win. That's what's on the back here and the different things. And I remember it being like a simple, we draft things and then we build the bridge. And I really like that. I'm really, really glad this showed up. It also came with a nice handwritten note from John Olson from Doomsday Robots. And just thanking me for their support, and it's a handwritten note. I mean, it's not even a photocopy. This is a handwritten real note, and that's a really nice touch. It's a nice way to connect with your fans. So, okay, so that's the stuff from the mail. I'm sure I have more sitting on my desk that I need to look into, but for now, we'll just move on into this week's topics. The games I want to talk about this week are games with sort of a simple dodging mechanism. What I mean by that is one of them is a set collection game where you're trying not to get the sets. The other is a video game where you're jumping from 18-wheeler to 18-wheeler, trying not to get hit by them or fall off of them. They're definitely different games, but they have some similar mechanisms working for them, and I want to kind of get into those. I'm going to go and check on the comments here real quick, and then we'll get back into all of the games. Let's see here. George says, best regards from Germany. Time for whiskey and play games. That sounds amazing. Yeah, that sounds wonderful. Tim says Bears, and yes, their soda is fantastic. Brad says went there the first night, really enjoyed it, but missed the local soda. Oh no, Brad, you're gonna have to go back next year when we go. Rocco says cream soda. I agree. That was really, really tasty. It was that's one of the few things I really, really like is like a homemade cream soda or root beer. I can get down on that. Eric says I hope that raccoon doesn't go in the stew. I hope not as well. It's called Pop out there. Oh, yeah, in the Midwest, it's Pop. I remember I had two neighbors that moved next to me when I was a kid, Mikey and Bobby Keeber. Still friends with them to this day. They're awesome guys. And they moved, and I remember they had a phrase that just blew my mind, and it was, we're going to go to the store and get a Pop. You want to go with? And I said, what? But, want to go with who? What do you mean? Want to go with you to get a pop, soda. Okay, it took a lot of back and forth to figure it out. So It was really, really funny. So, yes, Chris called it out. He's got it. So let's go right into the game, I guess. Let's get the screen up and let's get things going. We don't want to run too long this week because we got to catch up with work after being gone all weekend. And now we've got our fun little screen. And let's talk about the video game this week first. Yeah, it's Cluster Truck by Tiny Build, done in 2016. I can hint that I would love to see a board game designed around this. We might be trying to tinker with that a little bit. However, if you are a designer and you think you have something that might emulate this game, you might want to contact me. So, and that being said, here is some video from Cluster Truck. This is me playing terribly through the first couple of campaign levels. You're jumping from 18-wheeler to 18-wheeler, as you'll see, just trying not to fall, as I failed to do immediately. Hi, Lindsay. So good to see you. It was so good to see you this weekend, and I really was glad we got to catch up the little bit we did, but I swear we need a meal together next time. Courtney, hello, Harrison. How are you, buddy? It's good to see you. You are awesome. So John says, already bought my ticket for next year. We're going to talk about that in just a little bit, too. It's a really, really smart thing. So Eric says they're called Coke. Do you want a Coke? Yeah, down south, that is. Every soda is a Coke. Yes. I'm from South Texas, and everything was a Coke, unless it was a Big Red. I'm from San Antonio. Big Red's a totally different thing. Big Red and barbacoa, if you don't know about that, get down to Texas and try that out. So, Tiny Build's game, Cluster Truck, is super fun. You're just jumping. The thing you're avoiding is falling on the ground and getting hit by 18-wheelers. There's essentially, a directional pad and then a button, and that's the entire game. That's all you're doing. There's not a whole lot to talk about here, right? I mean, this is a relatively simple idea. It's not something that you're going to, I'll run it one more time real quick while we talk about it, but it's not something that's like insanely difficult to grasp, right? I'm going to jump from place to place. It is relatively difficult. There's a bit of dexterity involved, mental and physical dexterity, thinking through what the physics are going to do and things like that. And then there's a little bit of chaos involved, and that's part of what's fun about this game. So it's a mixture of avoiding bad things, chaotic situation, and, of course, just something that's just totally abstracted from reality. I don't think generally any of us would ever see ourselves doing this or needing to do this, nor would all these 18-wheelers be barreling down these random places. But it's fun, creates a fun experience. It's fun to watch. It's, it's something you could replay a whole bunch and even play with a living room full of people, and they'd be reacting to the things that are going on. So, I think that's something that we can learn from in terms of board games, but I don't think it's unique to video games. I think that the board game or card game I'm getting ready to bring up has a whole lot of this sort of thing going on with a different twist. It's not a dexterity game by any means, so that aspect is certainly not there. But let's just get into it. This week's board game is Six Nimmt, or I think it's Take 5 is the or why wouldn't it be Take 6? It is Take 5 if I remember. I don't know why it wouldn't be Take 6. But Six Nimmt is a really fun game that I have probably played more than 100 games of. It's available, of course, and actually here's my copy right here. I mean, this is a really, really fun little game. All you're doing is trying to avoid taking tricks, essentially, but you get a number of cards, and what you'll have to do is everyone plays a card each turn, and there's 4 rows. You do not want to be the 6th card to play in a row, and you've got to play in ascending order with, this is difficult to explain without a visual aid. I just realized the, next lowest consecutive number, you have to play your card that you've picked to play face down, and everybody sort of turns them face up on that row. So if you are the 6th one, you're going to take that set, and there's little bullheads. This blue, if you see right over, I will learn one day how to be a meteorologist. If you see on the screen over here, that blue symbol is a bull's head. If you take a stack of those cards, there's a number of bull's heads on them, and that's how many lives you're losing. Once somebody's lost all their lives or taken a certain number of bullheads, however you want to, I forget what the exact terminology is, but the game ends and you count up who has the lowest and then who has the most left. Whoever has the most, sort of lives left or has taken the least bullheads wins the game. And it's super simple. It's something you can teach in a couple of minutes and everyone can kind of understand. It does take a little bit of math if you're playing the deduction aspect of it in terms of set collection, like all set collection games tend to do. But it's clever, it's fun, it doesn't overstay its welcome. I generally tend to love playing it. And it's been called a lot of things. I do know that. It's been published many times since the mid-1990s, and it's a Wolfgang Kramer game. I would put this in my top 10 card games of all time. I've played it more than probably anything on my shelf or digitally. It's available on Board Game Arena. Actually, when we were developing Stir Fry 18 on Board Game Arena, I realized that this was there and started playing it, and I really fell in love with it. Ended up playing it on the tabletop a whole lot more. So Board Game Arena has actually turned me on to a bunch of games. This was one of them. Yeah, I don't know if any of you have other card games you really love, but I'd love to hear about them, or card games where you're trying to avoid taking cards. I know it's not a super unique mechanism, but the way it's done here is a way I enjoy and is easy to teach. So I think that's also always something to be aware of, is like the ease of entry for a game is very important. So let's get some comments going here. Tim says, Derek says, I got to run errands. I'll watch this later. Derek, I really am offended that you're leaving to go do your responsible things and not watching my coffee show where we talk about games. Prioritize, sir. Prioritize. So Tim, he says this game looks insane already from one level. I agree. It is insane. I'm also terrible at it, so I'm sure there's better video you can get of that one. I will also say that it is one of those games that I think you could probably play anytime and just play like 2 minutes and be like, okay, I'm cool, or play an hour of it and have a good time. So I like games like that. Brad says, I especially like the truck stuck on the rock. Yeah, it's certainly a physics generator. Lindsay says it reminds me of mobile apps like Subway Surfer or Temple Run, the touchpad. Yeah, I think it's got a little bit of that to it, but finally like on a console with some physics-based. It's certainly fun. Okay, so let's talk about the media this week. We're, almost 20 minutes in. We're doing great. We are trucking along. The media this week is a really, really fun outlet that I've been listening to since we went to like the first Kineticon, if I remember. Actually, I think I met this group at CT Fig, and we did an interview a year ago or so, maybe 2 years ago at this point. It's 2 years ago. They're an incredible podcast team who also has a radio show, who also are two of the most friendly guys that I finally got to introduce to my family this weekend, and seeing them just reminded me of how much I love their show. So this is the Pint of Comics podcast / they also have a radio show on WESU. I'll actually be on that show live on the 29th of this month, so if you want to listen on their web browser or live in Connecticut, you can listen to me talk to John and John on the radio about pop culture and fun stuff and goofy stuff and board games, and like we do here, and just chat, maybe with a lot more jokes and a few more puns. I'll try and sneak some puns in, I promise. Pint of Comics does all sorts of pop culture stuff. This is not just games, but they certainly focus on games as well. They were at the Connecticut Festival of Indie Games, interviewing and checking out all sorts of games and looking at stuff and taking photos. I mean, they're amazing content creators. I really, really like them, and I consider them friends as well. So I wanted to give them a good shout out this week. Pint of Comics is an amazing organization. I know there's more people than John and John, but Johnny Ganache and Sir John are the hosts of the show, and everybody involved does a great job, and I really enjoy that show. So, and I'm sorry if I look like my eyes are closing. I have been at the convention all weekend and actually drove back and forth a couple nights from Connecticut to Rhode Island. So I am toasted from this weekend. I am still sort of catching back up and trying to re-energize with coffee as well. So I appreciate you listening at work. Don't get in trouble, Michael. So before we move on to the marketing thing, I would like to do something. And I would like to do something really, really quickly that is fun, and I think it'll be a good time, and I think it'll help maybe bring some awareness to something. So I am currently going over to Kickstarter.com. Let me see here, and I am going to search. Or actually, I've already backed it. I guess I don't need to search. I'm going to click on something called When Cutie Met Patootie. If you have not heard of this game, this is a game by Daniel Zayas. If you have not heard of Daniel Zayas, you have not been listening. I have talked about his amazing campaign management that we did with Record, and how he helped us reform, how he helped us pivot after having political situations in the nation pop up in the middle of our first campaign, and other things happen and all sorts of stuff. I mean, it was just, he helped us remain calm and not freak out as first-time creators, get funded on our second campaign. Daniel's also a friend of mine. I think he's great for the industry. He's super friendly. If you've ever seen him at a show, you've probably taken a selfie with him. And so I am going to do everything I can to make sure his campaign, which is currently at $9,239 of its $10,765 goal with 38 hours to go, I am going to manage my pledge, which is currently at a Entanglement Edition, and I've already talked to Daniel about this. I would like to go ahead and get some sort of promo card put into the game as well. We'll figure out exactly what that'll be, but I'm going to increase my pledge by another $250 so that we can make sure that we boost this game towards getting funded, guys. Let's get Daniel's campaign funded. I think that Daniel deserves it. He's worked hard. This game is amazing looking. I got to play it a couple times. I enjoyed it. So as of right now, let's go back and take a look, and I think that should mean that we're a little bit closer to funding. Help us get there. He's at $9,489 now. So, Daniel, I hope that helps get us a little bit further. I think you're a fantastic creator. I think When Cutie Met Patootie is a really fun game. I can't wait to play it solo, and it's something I'm looking forward to. The playmat, the box, and let's get a promo put in there too, brother. I am really happy to see that game doing so well, and I want to see it fund. If you guys haven't done the thing, share the thing. Go share out the campaign. You know what I'll do right here? I'm going to go ahead and link it for all of you. Michael, your meeples are amazing, my friend. Your meeples are amazing. I really saw them this weekend. I liked them a lot. They were great. So, yeah, let's get this campaign funded, guys. Let's get Daniel's campaign funded. If you haven't looked at Michael's meeple campaign, go check that out, too. Let's make sure Michael gets funded as well. He's got some wooden meeples that are customized, and they really, really look nice. I have some somewhere, and I just haven't unpacked. If I had unpacked my stuff, I would show them off to... Oh! Here we go. I've got one of the darker, I think this is the cherry wood. Yeah. I think I've got one here. Let's make sure that you can actually see it. But there we go. Ooh, this is, and the other fun thing is, if you smell them, they smell really, really good. I know that's weird, but if you smell them, they smell good. I'll be honest, they taste all right too. They taste pretty good. No problem. Hey, I really, really appreciate everything you did for us, Daniel, and I really appreciate all that. I am glad that Yanaguana Games and I can help support your campaign a little further. And much love, brother. I hope this gets funded today, and then we just get it going. I want to see this game on my table. I really do. So now let's move on to the marketing thing that turned me on this weekend. I was super into this. I'm really, 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 really trying to think about how we do this and how we make all these sort of things go, go in our direction in the tabletop industry. But this is a really cool marketing thing that I think probably a lot of conventions do, but I just haven't been aware of. So when you were leaving this weekend at Kineticon after an amazing show, I got to see a whole lot of cool stuff. It's from games where you talk about, the death of someone that you've, an ancestor, and make up a clever story, and games that were an interesting sports experience, games that were, piratey in nature, games that had you rolling bears in and out of beds, games where you were warlocks fighting over a ley line. There's, games where you were in a neighborhood and you were just checking it out. There's so many clever games at the Connecticut Festival of Indie Games. Like, I was losing it. In my head, I was just thinking about all the possibilities of where these games could go. A lot of them were in the, the early alpha stages, if you will. So I had such a blast at the Connecticut Festival of Indie Games. But on the way out of Kineticon, I looked at some information, saw a tweet and other things, and it was announcing next year's Kineticon for 2019. And it also said in the back of the program, there's a discount code for 30% off next year's ticket if you buy by a certain date. This is giving you a heads up to say essentially next year you can come to this same fun convention you just had. You're still riding high on your convention. You still had a good time. Snap up that ticket right now. And let me tell you what this does for a convention like that, and where we can probably maybe share some of this in the board game space. They did something really incredible where you're offering, in the midst of that high of the convention, a discount on next year's experience. That's also somewhat, altruistic, giving a discount to your loyal fans. I think that's really, really good to do. But it's definitely good for the convention, because the convention now has a baseline at least to understand how many customers are interested in coming, or how many fans are interested in coming to the next show next year. That were at the show this year, and that's a baseline. So I just had an interesting back and forth and chat with Jamie Stegmeyer on a Facebook thread about this very same sort of thing in the board game space, where he's got pre-orders, and pre-orders sort of they help, but they definitely don't gauge a perfect demand of what he's going to need, and a lot of times he'll run out of product. Not run out, but I mean he'll need to reprint, and things will have sold out because his games are so popular, and he may be estimated demand based on pre-orders, but then the actual retail demand was much more. There were some interesting things to learn in his blog about the way that he's sort of formed his strategy around what numbers to produce and things of this nature. And I think that's tied to this sort of thing, where if you can offer some sort of loyalty discount or program, you're gaining information based on how many customers are interested in said product. So in Jamie's case, he's got the Stonemaier Champions program, where he has certain people that are champions, and they have a subscription-based service that they get some, I think, free shipping and different things like that. But there's also pre-orders and stuff, I believe, come at either a discount or first. And regardless of what it is, that's a sort of baseline number to know this is how many people are interested in our brand's products immediately as they come out, and generally would like to acquire them immediately. So that's not to say that we're going to move into any sort of subscription program or Patreon or any of that sort of stuff. That's just not what my goal is, currently at least. And so, but I do think giving something along the lines of hey, if you come back next year and come see us again, we will have a thing for you. And I think some Kickstarters do this in the form of a discount for previous backers. That's tricky to do based on having to track down who backed the campaign. I guess if it's the same email, but a lot of people maybe have a couple of Kickstarter accounts or something like that is some of the issues I've heard with it. I think there's ways to do it if you go to a show regularly. I think there's quite a few different interesting ways to go about that. But it just really struck me as an interesting marketing tactic to say, hey, we know you're a fan of this, so next year would you like to come back at a slight discount? And we get to gauge that demand right up front. I need to catch up on some comments. I see they've all just popped up. So, and yeah, if I just share it out. If you guys could share out Daniel's campaign, I would love you for it. It would really, really be great. Michael and Jason, I'll let y'all chat about the cherry wood. That is, it is really nice, though. I will admit, they are really, really nice meeples, and like I said, they taste all right too. Lindsay says it's also something vendors can do. Reserve and pay for a booth space next year. It's definitely something that's hard to do for some companies. Yeah. So I don't know if any of you know this on the backside. A lot of times if you do a show, you can say at the end of the show, hey, I'm going to go ahead and pay up front for next year, sometimes at a discount, and that's really cool. Sometimes you just want to do that to secure your space for the next year because of, exclusivity of some of these shows. Some of them become very limited in space, so you want to get your space and you don't want to allow anyone to take it, perhaps. But yeah, the discount is really, really nice as well. It can help, small companies like us to save while we grow our company and know that we have a schedule set up for the following year. It can be hard to do as well if you have a small staff like we do, because planning a year ahead is sometimes difficult for small companies. So Lindsay says it's very common in the vendor side to renew for next year, and not unheard of that you do not renew your booth space. There may not be space, available at a later point. Yeah, I totally agree. You don't want to lose your space. That's for sure. That can be a big part of it. So we are just about at 30 minutes. I think it's been a fantastic chat this week. I really appreciated everybody's comments. If there's any questions, you can feel free to ask them afterwards. So Michael says Kickstarter doesn't allow you to give out coupons as rewards, sadly. Coupons are definitely not something you can do. However, I think that I've seen some campaigns where they say backers of our previous game here do get a discount on this one, and it's a previous backer only tier. In my mind, that's like a logistics nightmare to have to deal with all those emails and another tier, potentially another set of SKUs in my post-funding situation. I think there's, if you have a great team that can deal with all those aspects, it can be fine. But yeah, it may not be the best way to implement that. Perhaps coupons in the box with some sort of expiration date on them based on when you published. But again, those could expire over the time as stock, revolves and things like that. So I'd love to hear more thoughts about ways to make that happen. It would be really, really awesome to figure out how, we as board game creators, when we engage our customers in person, can offer them a way to want to come back and engage in the future at another show, or perhaps creating events at shows that are put on by your company as a way to do it. And it doesn't have to be high cost. Tournaments where you're giving away products are a great way to engage fans and then also get your product out there into the wild. I think there's some different opportunities depending on the scale of the show that you can offer to the showrunners and say, hey, I'm going to bring a couple people and run a small tournament for my game and then give something away. That's a draw for that small convention as well. So I think that there's a lot of fun things you can do to engage people and bring them back to a space where they come see you. So I really appreciate y'all checking it out this week. Thank you for joining me. Hopefully we'll see you again next week, same time, same place, and I will be more energized and less wiped out from a convention. So thank you again for being here, and y'all have a great week. Have some coffee, get some games designed, and we'll see you soon. Thanks again. Bye-bye.